Just so you know. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the first meeting of the evening, and the first meeting will be community development, so I'm going to call community development for Monday, July 15th, 2024. There are 3 items on the agenda for tonight. The first one is the matter of the approval of the May 28th and June 10th community development meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mr. Oswald.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 2 is the matter of rezoning 5 vacant parcels bounded by Leona Street and Griswold Road and owned by the City of Elyria and Elyria Community Improvement Corporation from Business General and Business Automotive Districts to redevelop overlay district with Business General as the base district and light industrial as the overlay district. This item was approved by the Planning Commission on July 2nd, 2024, with no conditions. Law Director Deary.
Thank you. Good evening. Through you, Mr. Chair. As you just stated, this matter was approved by Planning Commission with no conditions. Several of these parcels are owned by the city, with the remaining currently owned by Elyria CIC. We're looking to have these rezoned under our recent overlay zoning in order to facilitate the Good Nights nonprofit project. For those of you who may not be familiar, this is the vacant land in the vicinity of Leona and Griswold. After the rezoning, if you can look either on your screens or for some of you, it's maybe easier to look at behind you. Most of this is behind the Excel medical facility and in front of the car dealership. Then we'll be looking to facilitate the lot split and consolidation then to further move this project along. So it would be anticipated, obviously don't want to put words in your mouth as a committee, but should this be approved, then this would obviously move along to full council. There'll be a public hearing, which all zoning has, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or concerns from anybody on the panel? Mr. Tollett.
Although I'm not on this committee, should this be approved all the way through as an emergency so we can do this faster? Would that be helpful to the cause?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that would be fine.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. Before I read the committee report, I do see Mr. Holtzman in the audience. Mr. Holtzman, did you want to say something tonight? If you do, just please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Charles Holtzman. I live at 11137 Arrowhead Drive, Grafton. I have 2 properties on Griswold Road in the immediate area of the properties that's being considered. And Mayor Bluebaker filled me in on what the future plans are for the area, which I have no problem with. I just want to make sure the area stays commercial and for future development in a commercial area. So that's, my concern was coming up here tonight. But looks like that's the direction you're going, and it's fine by me.
Okay. Thank you. Still see no hands, so I'm going to go ahead and read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a request to rezone 5 vacant parcels on Leona Street and Griswold Road that are owned by the City of Elyria and the Elyria Community Improvement Corporation. This is to be rezoned from a business, general, and automotive to redevelop them to a overlay district with business general as the base district and light industrial as the overlay district. This matter was approved by the Planning Commission on July 2nd, 2024. There will also be an emergency clause. So could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Mitchell and seconded by Mr. Oswald.
Call for the question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is the matter of a liquor license as requested by the American Legion Post 12. This would be for the first floor, West Side Canteen, located at 393 Ohio Street in Elyria, referred by the Ohio Liquor Control Agency. And as of now, we have received no negative feedback in regards to them getting this liquor license. Are there any questions, or did anybody want to speak? Mr. Oswald.
Thank you for letting me speak here. Just a question on, I thought there's already a liquor establishment in that building, and now this is going to be like a separate entity, so they need another liquor license. So that was just my question.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the commander is here. We did speak briefly before the meeting, and I'll certainly, if you'd like to hear directly from him, but as he explained to me and Chairman Callahan, this is specifically for the hall. The canteen, I'll say the main post, yes, they do have a liquor license. However, when there are events in their main hall, that's subject to entities getting temporary licenses, and that's what they are trying to rectify with this application. But obviously, not to put you on the spot, sir, but obviously he's here, so if you'd like to hear directly from him, he is here.
Sure, I don't have no problem, but yeah,
Right.
if you would like to speak, that's
Okay,
fine.
thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll read the committee report. This is a liquor license requested by the American Legion Post 12 for the first floor West Side Canteen only, located at 393 Ohio Street in Elyria. This is a permit Class D5, and the time will only go till 2:30 a.m. No issues were reported by the police department or any other departments in the city. Could I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that the city does not request a hearing.
Motion made by Mrs. Mitchell that the city does not request a hearing, is seconded by Mr. Schneider.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Tolet to please call Finance.
At this time, I'll call finance to order.
Thank you, Mr. Tolet. We have 2 items on the agenda for the joint meeting. The first one is the approval of the joint meeting minutes from June 10th, 2024. Can I get a motion? Motion made by Mr. Schneider, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Call. Okay, I was going to say call for the question.
Called for the question. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 2 on the agenda is the matter of review and approval of the CRA tax abatement agreement with Foster Senior Lofts LLC. I believe Mona is going to speak on this topic.
Good evening, thank you. Yes, we have Pivotal here this evening. They are requesting a community reinvestment area for the Foster Senior Lofts. This new project is an affordable senior housing facility. There will be 46 units, 24 one-bedroom and 22 two-bedrooms. All units will be for income-qualified seniors. The income qualification is 80% AMI, which matches our CDBG income requirements as well. The site was selected based on the need of the population in the area, and I will let Pete talk more about that. And also, there will be certain wraparound services involved too that he can go over with you for that. The applicant is requesting a 15-year, 100% abatement and will be investing over $14 million at 615 Foster Avenue. The project is set to be complete by February of 2026. Proper notice was served to the school districts, and Pivotal has come into agreements with the Elyria City School District and the Lorraine County Joint Vocational School for 50% of the lost taxes to the schools. And so with that, I will introduce Pete Schweigeret, who is the Senior Vice President of Development for the Midwest region.
Sir, just say your name for the record and the address of the company.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mona. Pete Schwigerot with Pivotal, 9100 Centerpoint Drive, Westchester, Ohio, 45069. Thanks again for your time, committee members. I'm excited to be back in front of you. Most recently, we were in front of you as we rezoned this property last year. Thank you for your support in that. That allowed for us to apply for financing through the state to bring forward this phase of senior housing. Since then, when I think maybe last saw you in February, we've continued to work through the process, finalize design, and go through bidding, finalize cost, work through permitting processes. That's still ongoing. We are also working through the state's environmental review process, which is making good progress, all with anticipation that we can close and start construction in October. November would be kind of the goal or ideal or typical potential pace to close from here. As we applied for funds through the state, we certainly appreciated your support. This is additional needed support as we try to finalize the economics in the budget. We did run into some drastic increases in cost for the demolition of the building. We are hopeful this will help us keep those economics in line, and ultimately we hope you'll support this effort for tax abatement. Ultimately, as we presented the project to you in the past, nothing's really changed. It's still the same amount of units, same type of units, same quality, green, accessible buildings. We're working through your permitting processes now and certainly going to be meeting all your city requirements and approvals before we start construction. So, and yes, this is $14 million in new investment. Elyria Community Partnership is also our partner in this. They're going to be able to receive some revenue that will help them further missions and goals, and we've been listening and working with them to make sure we understand what's needed in the community and that that's part of this development here. So we're excited to serve your seniors, and hopefully you'll support this so that we can bring the new housing options to the community.
Thank you. Questions? Obviously, I saw Mr. Schneider first, and it'll be Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Schwegerberg. Is your October, November construction, are we still planning on doing the Bond Street side first, demoing the school?
Yes.
Leaving the school side empty until a future phase, or is the school
Yes.
side going to be sooner than later? Thank you.
They'll happen simultaneously still, but we are going to do phase one on the Bond side of the street. And as we're starting construction there on phase one, we can be doing the demolition on the other site.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be the future Phase 2 site. The tax abatement we're requesting now is for this Phase 1. If and when we can bring Phase 2, it would come to making its own request.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Tolet.
Through you. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, there was an issue regarding the height of the facility that popped up. Has that been addressed and worked out?
Yeah, we did go through some additional variances and approval processes to make sure we were bringing forward a plan that's approvable. As far as I understand, we're through all those processes. Certainly, if I'm wrong, anybody that feels otherwise can let us know. But we are still in the process of finalizing all those permits and approvals, so.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sawarka.
Thank you, through the chairs. Just number 2 on our agenda and number 5 on the pending items, are they the same item? I believe they are. I'm just double checking.
I believe so as well. It took us an extra month to get through some of those school district processes, and so I think we might have been tabled for.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. The last time you were here, if I recall correctly, you were waiting on funding. Did that funding happen for you?
Yes, yeah, so that was last fall we applied, we got award in December, and we were back one time since then. But this is us getting much closer to the finish line and just more firming up some of these details.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I may. Sure. Mayor Brubaker, what is the city's position on this tax abatement, and the schools are okay with this?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, as Ms. Mona said, the schools has already approved this, as well as Lorraine County JVS. City side, I was just talking to the director. He'd already answered the question, or Mr. Schneider asked the question about the demolition, because it was still my contention as a part of the agreement for the money that we gave for this project, that the demolition had to take place simultaneously. He answered that question, so we are good. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question. I know that you presented this, I think, back in February.
Ish, yeah. so-
Okay, and at the time, I believe you had some drawings or some photos that you shared with us. And I'm asking because in my travels through my day job, I travel through Huron. In fact, I was just there about 45 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Is that your unit up on Huron?
that one was developed and built about, I'm guessing 12 years ago, yes.
Okay,
The 3-story building
Yes.
there, and there's some cottages.
Right on the- right
That's
on the-
one of our developments, yes.
okay. So the one in Elyria is going to be very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, it might have a little slightly different,
Right.
Freshen up the architecture a little bit. The plans and everything we've shown you from a 3-story gabled roof building, very similar. It's kind of the same iteration of that building.
Okay.
Is still the plan. Nothing's changed with the architecture.
Okay. Well, just on a personal note, I think it looks very nice and it's well kept.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions from either committee? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a community reinvestment area tax abatement agreement with Foster Seniors Lofts LLC. This is an ordinance providing the said agreement, and this will have an emergency clause as requested. Can I get a motion from Community Development?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Oswald, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion for finance?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That being said, there's no further business for community development, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Mr. Oswald, seconded by Mrs. Mitchell.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Community development is adjourned.
Piece of
Have a good week. Oh, thank you, sir. Have a good week.
See you later.
Continuing on with finance, before we get going, I'd like to say how nice it is to see Ms. Calvert. It's great to see you, and I wanted you to know that. You're special to us. And first item on the agenda, the matter of delinquent utility accounts to be certified to the Lorraine County Auditor. Public Works Director Connor.
Good evening. Through you, Mr. Chair. We have a list of delinquent past due accounts that the Resolution Board approved last Friday for passing on to property taxes. The total was $23,343.66.
Are there any questions for the director? Mr. Snyder?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Director Connor. I see on multifamily, we have quite a few, but on multifamily one shutoff, obviously that's the only one that had a shutoff, and that was only in one of the units. How does that work?
It has the tap at the street.
Okay.
And it goes so that we read the meters separately, so we can't shut it off with the one shut off.
Okay.
So we
That
have.
one is a one shutoff, so it wasn't one was shut off, there's just one shutoff at that location?
Correct. at-
Okay,
at
thank
the
you for
road.
clarifying.
This one, I think it's a 3-unit complex, 3 or 4. And this one, we have leaned this one before.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Sawerka?
Thank you, through the chair. 523 Griswold is the old Knights Inn, right?
Yeah, I think it's called Arlington Inn now.
Okay. And what's 511 Fuller?
That is R.J. Gordon. And they're funded through the government. I've been trying to get a hold of their manager there, and no response.
Are they, through the chair, are they new to the list? Have they been delinquent before?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, they've been delinquent before.
Okay. How about the hotel? Have they been delinquent before?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no further questions from the committee, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of inactive delinquent public utility accounts, a resolution authorizing said delinquent accounts to be certified to the Lorraine County Auditor's Office as per the attached list. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, number 2, the matter of finding city property no longer suitable for use and to be disposed of. Chief Pernesti.
Good evening. We just need to get rid of some old fitness equipment that is no longer usable. It's too expensive to get parts. It's really not even worth putting on any kind of government deals or
Bid list.
anything, so
Okay.
we just need permission to
Throw it away.
throw it away.
Okay. Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Chief, for purposes of drafting legislation, if you could get to my office, either serial number or photos or something to that matter, so that we can adequately just identify the equipment. So whatever it is, if it's
Does it
photos,
have
if it's the, whatever identifying features are on.
Okay.
Right, if it's just this one treadmill, I don't know.
It is, we're actually not even sure if this was even purchased by the city. It may have been donated.
All right.
When the firefighters brought it in or something.
So I wanted to play it safe and make sure
No, that
that
makes
we do
sense,
it
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I will get that for you.
Yeah, just some sort of identifying, if you
Yep.
got, by colors,
Got it.
we'll be creative.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of finding the city has one fire department Nordic Life treadmill, which is beyond repair and unable to be utilized and to be disposed of by the best means possible. Authorizing the Safety Service Director to declare said property unfit for municipal use and to dispose of by the best means possible in accordance with the law. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 3, the matter of creation of a new position titled City Planner. I'm going to turn this over to Mayor Brubaker, but before I do, as chair, some of the things that we're coming up on are changes in our zoning codes and some additional potential new business coming to town. And before we get going, in my opinion, this is a great idea for our community. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mayor Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the last number of months, as we were going through the comprehensive land use, and now we're getting knee-deep into the zoning aspect of that phase, as well as what Mr. Tollett stated about the number of business, we're getting overwhelmed with zoning requests, information, particularly in the mall area. People understand that there's going to be a major change over there. There's a lot of buildings, there's a lot of land, and it became abundantly clear to me that we are not in a position to do some of the things that need to be done. As talented as our community development is, and as talented as Ms. Culvert is, as talented as Mr. Farkas is, we're missing a piece there on the planning side to help us determine, as a part of this comprehensive land use, what is in the best interest of the city as we move forward. And as I met with that group of folks, and Director Panowski and Ms. Yousefi, I talked to them about what is it that it looks like that we need. And the city planner / zoning administrator came in. So the objective of this is to bring, this is not anybody we currently have in-house. It's not anybody we have in mind. We would go out for a search. And I know Councilwoman Sorka did this recently in Avon Lake, and it's a very tenuous process. But the idea behind this is to get somebody on board to help us with this planning, with this comprehensive land use, with the zoning. It's also designed that Mr. Farkas, quite frankly, in the building department, when you talk about the housing units and the commercial development, he's spending the bulk of his time behind a closed door, behind a desk, reviewing commercial stuff. If we can take that off his plate, it's going to benefit the building department, because at that juncture, he's dealing with residential. We do not have to hire another residential inspector, because Mr. Farkas is very capable, as needed, to get in the field to do inspections and things along those lines. And quite frankly, he's been doing some of that with the administration over the last number of months. So at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Culvert to speak to this, as she, as long as a member of the team there, had put in the bulk of the work on the job description and the cost analysis of the salary, as well as the ins and outs of this. So if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Culvert.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. So as Mayor mentioned, we really did take a deep dive look into what were the skill gaps and what were the task gaps that we had in-house to really deliver a first-class experience for those going through the Planning Commission process, zoning process, and really development in the city. And we recognize that we really had this need for somebody to be the main point of contact for all zoning requests, particularly for commercial, and then really be engaged from beginning to end of the Planning Commission process. So in that, once we saw that that's where the need was, we did a lot of research. We looked at neighboring communities. Many of our neighboring communities, such as Avon, Oberlin, North Ridgeville, have a combined community development, Planning Commission and Economic Development Director. That didn't seem to fit what we were looking for exactly. So we reached out and we talked to Shannon Fergus, who is a certified planner with Burgess and Nyepel, and she oversees multiple planners in her role there, to get an idea of what level of planner this would be, what the tasks were, how we needed to create a job description that would be attractive in the market. We confirmed that by talking to Aaron Blair, Chief Planner of City of Sandusky, as well as looking at the American Planning Association's example job descriptions and similar jobs throughout the country in communities of similar size. And then we also did a wage study and looked at skill sets locally to make sure that we were in the ballpark for the salary range for the skills that we were asking for in education. So we created this position, which I believe you have a draft of the job description for, at a C51 position that is $66,000 to $93,000 a year. We expect that this person would have 3 to 5 years of working experience at a minimum in this field, and that they have an educational background, ideally a planning certification that will help them really fulfill this role. I think one of the important things, too, the reason we have really focused on the city planner side, while this person will absolutely have the responsibility of zoning, doing all that commercial zoning and frontline zoning requests, one of the things that we realized, too, is that we divide up opportunities to participate in community plans where we can get money into the community. So where we are, trying to get grants into the city that require somebody who is knowledgeable in planning and can really be consistent with that. So while definitely Planning Commission, BOZA, zoning is going to be the bulk of their role, we're hoping to bring on some extra capacity too to get involved in neighborhood plans and community plans that will open the door for more funding for the city.
Mayor Brubaker.
Yes, I just want to add before, Mr. Chairman, before you go to council, I appreciate the questions that council members sent to me a couple weeks ago. They were all valid questions, and I think they were all answered. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. As a part of that report, I shared with you the concerns from the finance director's office in regards to future dollars and whatnot, and we would be remiss by not saying we fully understand that. And I know the finance director just shared at the last council meeting, we had to go out to the Lorain County budget and what we're looking at over the next couple of years. So I want to make sure that we are cognitive of that, but keeping in mind the planner's job and my job, and quite frankly, Ms. Culver's job, is to help bring business here, develop business here that will potentially, when we have this discussion in 3 years, we will say this was a great investment. So, thank you.
Mrs. Sawerka.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have several questions. And I know I did talk to the mayor. They're going to be exempt, but they're going to be covered by civil service. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct, yes.
So they're just going to be exempt from overtime?
Yes.
Okay. Can I just
Please.
continue? Thank you. You mentioned in your comments 3 to 5 years experience, but the job description says 3 years of experience. So maybe that should be cleared up a little bit. Determining their salary level, is it going to be based on if they have a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree, or they have the certified planning credential? And I do know quite a bit about this because I just hired last year in Avon Lake a planner, and we went through the American Planning Association for that hire.
Yes, we do anticipate that salary range is going to be commensurate with education and experience and any additional certifications that would make that, market competitive.
Yeah, I think that 3 to 5 years at a minimum, I think closer to 5 years is really the level of experience that we need in Elyria, because we do have several different silos of the process of Planning Commission. Just to understand that, and then you've got BOZA and the other boards that things have to go through for variances. And I think to have a conductor of this orchestra is a great idea. I just think that you really need to refine just a bit your search to find a candidate that's got those skill sets. There are people out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Yes, Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not on the committee, but I think it's a great idea. I think it's an investment that could pay back, so that's good. Get a good working relationship. I guess my question would be, who does this person answer to, and how does that group work, so that everybody works together to get the most accomplished? Could you mention a little bit about that? Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, that is a very good question. So the position will be housed in community development, and that is because that's pretty standard practice for planning departments. We're not doing a full department, we're just hiring that one planner, but it allows them to have some synergy with the plans that are underway that community development works on and that kind of thing. However, this is obviously, as everyone familiar with the process knows, a very multidisciplinary topic. So this, probably more than most others in the city, touches more departments, has more complexities than anything else. So while it's housed in community development, we anticipate their office being on the third floor across from the third floor conference room, where they can be very accessible to the public, have meeting space, be able to sit down, review plans, have the space that they need to do their job. But they will be interacting with building department, with myself, with engineering, the fire marshal, everybody as needed. So this is not going to be a position where they sit in one office all day and are not, managing the workflow. So we will, anticipate that we will still receive applications through the Planning Commission process, but those will be routed to this individual for follow-up and making sure things are met on time and reviewed appropriately.
Mr. Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess this is directed towards Ms. Sawerka. So when you had that search, were you finding a big pool of people that did this? Maybe, fill me in on that, what you found when you were looking for people?
Through the chair, I want to say initially we had maybe 50 applicants, and then we narrowed it down to maybe a dozen. There were 3 or 4 people that were brought in for in-person. There might have been some Zoom interviews because we had some out-of-state people. But yes, there are many people that are in this line of work, and I can see where this would work like it does in Avon Lake. The person that's there coordinates planning commission stuff, building department stuff, she works actually for the economic development director. She reports to him. And she makes sure that the fire department is involved if they need to be, and then any other boards or commissions in Avon Lake that need to weigh in on these kinds of things. If I could ask, I don't know that you answered who they're going to report to. I mean, it's fine that they have their own office, but they're still going to need to go to somebody.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. They will be housed in the Community Development Department, reporting to Director Scott.
Mr. Snyder.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Director Calvert, for all the work you put into this. I don't have very many questions because you've done so much presentation of information. But on my feeling on the salary offering is that we're going to be closer to the mid to higher end than the low. Ms. Sawerka, would you find that to be true with your recent experience? I don't see someone qualified coming in at $66,000 a year for the position. I just have a feeling that, we're going to probably be to that 75 to 90 some range. That's just, my take on that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the creation of a new position titled City Planner, an ordinance authorizing the creation of the new said position, City Planner. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, please use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, number 4, the matter of reappropriating issue 6 capital funds. Mayor Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will probably be the easy one of the group. As you know, we, during the budget process, we appropriated $180,000 for the replacement of the windows on the rear side of City Hall. And if you've noticed, they're about 2/3 of the way done. They got another couple weeks to go. We've already received the reimbursement from NOPEC for the $180,624. And I spoke to at length with Assistant Finance Director Farrell today. And what I'm asking for is that not asking for any more money, that we take that reimbursement and dump that back into the issue 6 capital so we can do a couple things. 50,000 of that would go towards the fire department for some equipment that they will need for the new ladder truck when it comes in. They did initially request $100,000 in their initial request for issue 6 earlier this year. It was not funded. But in speaking with the chief over the last several months, I told him that if we could find another way to get some of it, we would. I think this is a way to do that. So we'll be able to order half of it this year and get the other half next year as a part of issue 6 appropriation, and that equipment will be here well before when the new ladder truck comes. And then the balance of that would go back into the issue 6 capital outlay for additional work here at City Hall. The windows are going very well. One of the things that we found out was the rear windows do not match on the second, third floor, do not match on the first floor. So one of the projects would be to put the tinting that matches second and third floor on the back side of City Hall on the first floor to make that all look the same and as well as help with the heat. And then the balance of the money, we're also looking at putting, if you notice, there's the bronze tin steel that goes around the base and the top of the building. It is rusted out. We can use the same contractor under a new PO that they can replace that while they have the lift here, and they'll recaulk it and put the same color tin steel, if you will, back up there, and it will preserve the sandstone a little better. And then the balance will simply go into the additional repairs and renovations that are going on in City Hall. We've had additional departments because everything is looking so good. So they're asking some for help in their departments. So again, I'm not asking for any additional dollars. I'm just looking to reinvest these dollars back into here at City Hall. Thank you.
This is something we've talked about parts and pieces of over the last 6 or 8 months, and now it's finally getting done, and this is how we're going to fund it. So are there any questions from the committee? Mrs. Sawerka.
Thank you. Through the chair, are there any restrictions on the historical aspect of the building that we need to make sure we're adhering to?
To my knowledge, there are not, but I will certainly look into that. Councilwoman Zorka, through you, Mr. Chairman, we're replacing like for like on the current out there. We also have some work to do on the sandstone. As you're aware, it's been many years since there's been any tuck pointing done on that. We're looking at doing some of that as well. But there was no issues that I'm aware of with the replacement of the windows because we replaced like for like.
And that's the back part, through the chair, that's the older part of the building in the back anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the newer part.
The newer part, correct.
Right.
Any additional questions from the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of reappropriating issue 6 capital funds and ordinance to reappropriate the said funds. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excuse me 1 second. I apologize, Director Pileski.
Okay, so are we doing a separate ordinance for this? Because I do have appropriation changes that we can incorporate these changes in that order.
On the last item on the agenda, change that. Yes.
Through the
Oh,
chair,
go
I
ahead.
believe it's on there, the 180,000.
Right, it's included in the exhibit for the last ordinance, for the last item on the agenda, so. So I think it can just go through under the amendment to the
Okay.
permanent.
I don't know if that's up to the mayor, if it's all the same.
Is that good with you, Mayor?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, the reason the referral is in there, when I originally put the referral in, I did not realize that the purchase order for the windows was already in. So we were going to look at reappropriating that away, but since the purchase order in, we have to go about it this way. So not having the legislation and going through Finance Director Pileski is fine.
We do not need a separate committee report. Ted, you're good with that? Thank you.
I don't need this report.
Oh,
Number 8. This one. Okay.
I apologize. Next item on the agenda, number 5, the matter of a contract for the Lowell Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Improvement Project. Oh, there you are. Please, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. We are looking for approval to advertise our Lowell Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Improvement Project. The project includes extending the existing sewer that ends approximately Schilling Drive, which is just west of the railroad overpass. The sewer would be extended down to the curve where Lowell Street heads, turns into Telegraph, heads over to 113. We will end it there where Church of the Open Door will be able to connect their facility to this sewer. And then we'll also have available to all the other properties along that stretch the ability to connect to our sewer. The estimated construction cost for this project is $1.7 million, and it'll be paid out of the sewer fund. Excuse me. And after the project is complete, we will be looking at getting a capital recovery fee structure approved through council for the residents and any commercial buildings that connect to that in the future.
Will that also be assessed to Church of the Open Door?
They will be paying the capital recovery fee for their portion of the project.
Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. Snyder.
They currently have a small package plant right there. And it's not in good shape. And we've had discussions over the years on and off with Open Door as well as the EPA as to when we're going to get a sewer extended out towards that west end.
Yes.
Several years ago, there was a smaller sewer. So where this sewer ends, there was a smaller, like 6-inch sewer that was extended towards the chemical place. So the chemical facility is connected to sewer. I'm not really sure about Kokosing. And the other one, I believe, is it the storage facility? I believe they may be connected as well.
And the printing is also connected. The printing built, the old Victor Golf, I'm dating myself now. Yeah, Envelope Mart.
So yeah, we will connect them to the new sewer because we will eliminate the existing, almost like a lateral, but the existing smaller sewer that's in there currently.
Through the chair.
Mrs. Sawerka.
Thank you, through the chair. But this is going down to help Black & Decker, right? It's going that way?
We're stopping just shy of 113. So we're not,
Crossing?
yeah, we're not crossing 113 at this point in time.
Mayor Brubaker.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's an excellent question. Councilwoman Swerka, I know Ms. McKillips and I met when they first started bringing this project to us in February, and I think originally they were looking at an 8-inch line. Is that correct? Down through there? And when we started talking about Black & Decker out there, as well as there's 140 acres of land between where I live and Open Door that's currently farmland that potentially could be developed. And if we were able to, instead of putting an 8-inch line, we put a 24, that would allow us for that expansion as well as potentially going to the road. There's also some land for sale north of 113, which is in the township. So we're trying to set ourselves up for additional or potential development on the west side there. But that goes to your question about Black & Decker.
Any additional questions? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the Lowell Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Improvement Project, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and award a contract for the said project. Emergency clause is requested. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. All questions been called. All in favor of the motion, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 6, the matter of levying the final assessment for the 2023 sidewalk program. Ms. McKillips.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. 2023 was the first year that we provided a sidewalk program for residents to participate in, where they could have their sidewalks repaired or replaced through participating in this assessment-based program. Now, the engineering department went out, looked at the sidewalks for that specific property, assessed what needed to be replaced, provided the property owner with a ballpark estimate, got their signature to where they would be willing to have this assessed. We originally started at the very beginning of the program with about 13 participants, and after contacting several of those that fell into the QCT area, is that the Spruce Up Elyria program, the beautification program, we did have some of the participants moved over to that program, but we did end up with 6 property owners where we did replace sidewalks in front of their properties that provided either deteriorated concrete or trip hazards or trip hazards caused by trees. We ended up replacing the concrete, and at the end of the day, 5 of those property owners are opting to have the cost assessed to their property taxes over the next 5 years. The 6th property owner actually paid the city up front for the work, so they wanted us to provide the service of getting the contractor, overseeing the work, taking care of all the nooks and crannies that comes along with this project. And they were able to get their sidewalks done, and they walked away with just writing a city a check, and they were happy campers as far as I know. So we have 5 residents that are on our list that needs to get certified to Lorraine County Auditor's Office. The total amount for the 5 properties is $15,548. As part of this project, we are not adding any additional administrative fee to it. So that's our contribution to these property owners for taking the initiative to reach out to us and get their sidewalks replaced.
Just also for the committee, this was passed by utilities as well. Yes.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I would just note, due to the fact that, as the referral states, this is required to be submitted to the county auditor no later than September 9th, I would ask that this would be passed as an emergency. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Schneider, your hand was up first.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Engineer McKillips. Just real quick, 2 questions on this. One, this is obviously an owner-occupied only program. And 2, I'm assuming, but can you clarify? And then, is there any way when we get a future list, maybe next year, that it'll show like the address so we can get a geographic area or ward reference?
Sure, definitely.
Thank you. And it is owner-occupied?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Sawarka.
Thank you, through the chair. That was going to be my question, too, because just the parcel numbers, I would be curious if there was any in the 3rd Ward or the 7th Ward or the 4th Ward. And we're not charging administrative fees, but are there going to be fees when it goes over there? Doesn't the county automatically charge 4%?
Director Panowski.
The auditor, through you, Mr. Chair, will charge 4% collection fee on whatever's certified to them, yes.
And I just, as a follow-up, the residents know that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions from the committee? Not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of levying final assessments for the 2023 sidewalk program, a resolution authorizing final assessments for the said program to be certified to the Lorain County Auditor's Office. Emergency is requested. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Call for the question.
Question's been called. All in favor, please use a voting sign. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 7, the matter of additional easements to existing easements for the Windward Sewer and Gulf Road Pump Station project. Ms. McKillips.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Our Windward siphon project, we're looking at eliminating the siphon. But anyway, part of the project involves the construction of a brand-new pump station. This pump station is going to be located off of Gulf Road. We have 2 properties that will be affected. In both cases, we already have easements going through their property, but we need to take just a little bit more to finish off the area necessary for the new pump station and sewer. The 2 properties, as I stated, are both located on Gulf Road. One of the properties is already signed off, and we have a dollar amount for that one. The second easement, we're continuing through negotiations with that property owner to finalize that easement. Combined, the 2 easements are not going to be more than $10,000. Any questions?
Do we need an emergency?
Yes,
Yes?
please.
Okay. Are there questions from the committee? No questions from the committee? If not, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of additional easements for the Windward Siphon and Gulf Road Pump Station project. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into additional easement agreements for the said project. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign. Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And the final item on tonight's agenda, the matter of amendments to the 2024 permanent appropriations. Director Pileski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in addition to the one discussed earlier for the 2016 half% income tax fund, we have one other fund, and that involves the opioid settlement fund. If you recall, at the subsequent to the permanent appropriation being passed, council passed an ordinance authorizing the opioid money to be split 1/3 between Muni Court, 1/3 police, 1/3 fire. So what we're doing here, all of it was appropriated for Muni Court in the beginning because that ordinance had not been passed yet. So we're moving 2/3 of the amount that was originally appropriated in Muni Court and moving $66,706 to the Police Department Opioid Settlement Fund and $66,685 to the Opioid Settlement Fire Department, all those in operating and maintenance.
We've voted on this already, agreed to it. Any additional questions regarding this or the capital needs, how we're doing that with the building? Yes, Mrs. Sawerka.
Through the chair, is this our final settlement? Do we get any more? Do we know?
17 years, I believe this comes in. Is that accurate?
I think it's 17 or 18 years. I think we've probably in our third year now.
Same amount?
No.
No, it kind of varies because actually we just got another document about another settlement, I believe with Kroger, I think. So it varies, so.
Thank you.
Yes, and there's going to be additional that are still, as you read about in the paper, battling it out in court that could, bankruptcies coming and going. So if there's no questions, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of amendments to the 2024 permanent appropriations and ordinance authorizing the approval of the attached list of amendments to the 2024 permanent appropriations. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I apologize. Do I have a second?
Second.
Question's been called. All in favor of adjourning, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Right, I know. I think they're going to do 75. It's